Doors closing.
And now something completely different.
Happy Hour. Happy Hour.
Call from
Biggie.
What's up? This is Hoppe Hour. I am your host, Ryan Hoppe. And on the phone line, I've been listening to this guy's voice for a long time now. From the Two Guys Named Chris show, the one and only Biggie is on Hoppe Hour with Ryan Hoppe. What's up, bro?
Hoppy, how are you, man?
I'm good, bro. It's very strange. So I feel like I know you guys because I'm not from Winston-Salem, but my mom's side of the family is. So throughout the 2000s, I would visit, and my Nana would either listen to you guys. She passed away in '06, but she would either listen to you guys or Murphy. So, like, I'm interviewing Murphy on Friday, but it's just so crazy because then when the internet kind of began streaming around '07, '08, I would listen in the computer lab to the best of clips online. So it's like almost 20 years of being a fan of the show.
Well, thanks, brother. And, I've been following your career, waiting to get the invite on because you and I actually have quite a bit in common. So I'm excited to do this, man. This is exciting for me, too. You've had quite a career yourself, man. You are a grinder. I'm very proud of you.
I appreciate that, man. I sometimes I get in my own head, and I was like, would Two Guys Named Chris and Biggie want to come on? And then it reached the point where I was like, okay, I got to ask them. And so I want to ask you, how did you first get into radio?
Well, believe it or not, it was on Murphy in the Morning. So, it's been close to 20 years now. My buddy Jared, who is on our sister station here, 107.5 KZL, he is now the host on Jared and Katie. And believe it or not, Jared got an internship with Murphy in the Morning almost 20 years ago. Jared and I met at Papa John's Pizza. We were delivery drivers together. And
nice.
Then, believe it or not, we were manager and assistant manager for a while, which was quite something. And then we kind of lost touch, and randomly, we kind of got back in touch with each other. He was working as an intern for Murphy, and he asked if I wanted to go with him one night to a Clay Aiken CD release party, where we were going to have some fun with the women there excited for their new Clay Aiken CD. And, just kind of a fun radio bit, and we did, and Murphy liked it, and then we started doing some prank calls together. Now, this is back when you could still really have some real fun with prank calls. And we'd go in the middle of the night to the radio station, record these prank calls. Murphy would play them, and they never really took our key back. So we would go in the middle of the night just kind of for free, even after his internship, record stuff, record bits, record prank calls, send them to him. He'd play them. Finally, a spot opened up, and he was hired on Murphy. And later down the road, a few months later, they made some moves on Two Guys, and I was hired on Two Guys Named Chris in 2008, and I've been there ever since, believe it or not.
So I'm like a visual learner. So whenever I'm working with any of the shows I've ever worked with, I love to observe them and see what they do best. For example, MJ Morning Show, MJ brings a lot of prep, and he has everything organized. What were some things that you noticed that made Jack Murphy so great?
Jack still can relate to anyone. He could relate to the audience unbelievably. The audience loved him, and he loved the audience, and that is one thing that I very much noticed with Jack. And same thing with Kelly and Dem. I mean, they are the ultimate preppers. Like it takes a lot of prep to sound so natural, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
They get there very early and prep the show. I prep the audio. I do those type of things. We've worked together so long now that we very much know each other's role in the morning. But it takes a lot of prep to sound very just, hang out natural.
How often do you guys communicate during the day?
Oh, we have a constant group text going. A lot of times just about other life things, sports. We talk a lot about sports. We watch, a lot of the same things. And sometimes it's just shared memes with each other. we don't do a lot of storytelling with each other unless it's on the air, because you want to obviously, you want your audience to hear the funny stuff. So, but we constantly have a group text going with each other.
When you come up with an idea, do you write it down? So I use Google Docs. So I have the Google Docs app, and if I think of something and I'm at a red light, I wait till it's a red light and then I write it down. Are you ever like out and about and you think of something?
I am, but you know what I am? I'm also old. So I just text it to myself if something happens so I don't forget, which I know sounds funny, but I just shoot myself my own text and then I remember to write it down later. That's kind of my own notepad system.
Now, because you guys are in Winston-Salem, I got to mention my two favorite parts about the Triad area. That being, I love Haynes Mall. I would go there every time. And I love my absolute favorite. Every time I went, sometimes we would even go twice because I would visit for Thanksgiving, is I love Village Tavern.
Village Tavern's still there. Yep, definitely. One of the best restaurants here in the Triad area, 100%. Absolutely. So, now listen, now you're down in the St. Pete, Tampa area yourself.
I'm in I don't claim Tampa. I'm in St. Pete. It's a St. Pete and
okay.
Tampa. Tampa is like a Midwest city with palm trees. There's a lot of crime and sex trafficking. St. Pete's more of like a hippie vibe, like a lot of like weed smoking and that. So I'm more St. Pete than Tampa.
Well, that's what I spent a lot of time down in that area. Now, see, my family lived more on the Newport Richie side for a while. I spent a lot of time.
I've worked a lot of promotion events there. I've driven there a lot.
Oh yeah. I know Newport Richie well. I know the Tampa area some. Don't know as much about St. Pete, but I do love that area too. So I think it's awesome you're down there. I spent quite a few years visiting family down there till they recently moved. So
I can't believe it. May 5th or 6th, I forget which day it was exactly, but I've been in Tampa for 10 years, and I don't know if I ever want to leave because like I have such a thing built here that I don't know. I'm just kind of confused where radio's going because I'm going to the morning show boot camp this year, and I'm sure they're going to talk about like growing talent and doing a farm system. But then like, because I don't even want to go down the radio. I mean, I don't even want to go down the like, road of, radio doesn't know what it's doing. But bro, sometimes I look at the business and I'm like, what are we doing?
I'll tell you, man, it's a very interesting time for radio. Now, I will say this. Since I've gotten into radio, I've been told radio's ending.
Yeah.
In at the wrong time. Oh, you're getting into the wrong. I still hear that. I've made a career this far, a lot longer than I ever thought I would. I don't think radio's ending. I think it's a weird time for radio. You have a whole lot of, you got layoffs everywhere. Now, I've been very lucky to work for a private family-owned company who has treated me very well. I haven't had to deal with the corporates. Not saying it hasn't hit us, different layoffs and things, but I haven't seen that side of it. But I do feel like it's a weird time for radio where I feel like there's a lot of good talent being lost out there, and I hate that. And especially now with more moves to AI and things like that, radio is a people-driven, personality-driven business, and I hate to see it go away from that.
The problem with radio is that it got too corporate. Like, I'm not saying, like, I know you need the corporate format or whatever, but the problem is it got too corporate where, like, the bosses just are there to crunch numbers and they don't care about, like, the team. And then it's like, this is happening in every city. But they'll let go of, like, the local legends to save money, like it happened last week with Johnny Deere in Kansas City. And then they're like, why are we getting 10,000 messages of people mad that they've been listening to a guy since 1993? Like, I feel like sometimes you need to make an exception because, like, I feel like what happens is a lot of these new bosses come in or these new CEOs or consultants, and they don't realize the impact. Like, I don't want to put you in a weird position, but like even with what happened with Weather Dave, like on Radio Insight, there were 40 comments. Usually people don't post comments on Radio Insight. 40 people missed Radio Dave and commented about it. I was one of them. Like, I feel like sometimes you don't need to cut everybody. Like, you can find another way to save money.
Sure. Yeah. No, believe me. I can tell you when that happened, we were shocked because it had not happened to our company at all. We were very lucky for a long, long time that it didn't, where everyone else was having these layoffs. And I mean, believe me, we talk about it. We still mention Dave. One thing that I think we do differently is we openly have talked about it. You know, a lot of people in radio, you know, you've seen the horror stories. You just, one day they're there, one day they're gone, and they're off the website. You never know what happened. We, the next day, went on and said what happened, and it still hurts. We still miss Dave every day.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm just curious where radio's going, because I talk to a lot of Gen Z people, and they don't get it. Like they were like 4 years old when radio mattered. You know what I mean? Like when radio was still exciting, they were like pooping their diapers. So they don't even, like, I met a Gen Z kid who had not heard of Howard Stern. Crazy.
Yeah, I believe it. Well, part of it is that I think, you know, Gen Z area is so, especially, you know, morning radio. Now, a lot of shows play songs. We don't actually play songs in the morning. I mean, it's us talking for 4 hours on music stations, not on talk stations. And, you know, I think a lot of Gen Z is quick clips now. You know, everything's in a 30-second to a 1-minute TikTok. So for them, the idea of sitting down and listening to something long term is, you know, giving 15 minutes to one subject. That's hard to concentrate on. And I think radio is trying to figure that out. And I don't know if you can figure that out. I don't know if there is a correct answer on a way to do that. I think you have to be engaging. I think that you have to have, obviously, a great personality and something for people to want to gravitate to. I do believe there's young talent out there. I just don't know if radio is doing what they need to grow it.
If you were in charge of growing talent, what would you do?
You know, that's a great question, and I don't even have a good answer for it. I just feel like along the way through my career, I've met people who either just get it or they don't. And sometimes you just have to have a knack for something in your personality has to click. You know, I didn't go to school I didn't go to college, period. I went to a little bit of technical school. Radio to me has always been more about your personality and just who you are and what you can do and who you can be, more so than degrees and things, which is hard to explain to people too. Especially when I've had to go talk to like college radio classes and they find out that I don't have a broadcasting degree. You know, I closed at Papa John's one night and went to work in radio the next day. I still think when I meet people, we have a pretty good intern system as far as promotional interns and things. And a lot of times, you know, most of the people on the air there now came through like the promotions department. And I think, you know, seeing people in promotions, that tells you a lot about who they are too.
I tell everybody that's how I got my beginning in radio, was doing promotions. Like that's like the best way to do it, because with an internship, you're out after 10 weeks if you're one of the big companies. Because I don't know how long you guys keep interns, but when I was in Chicago, going to radio school 11 years ago, I was trying to get like an internship at like Kiss FM or whatever, but it was like after 8 weeks, you're gone. So I interned at this EDM show called Dance Factory Radio that was local, and I got to be there for like 15 months. I've told people all the time that sometimes interning at the smaller radio station, as long as it's not too small, that sometimes is better than the big shows.
100%. And like with us, because we are a smaller company, you'll get more one-on-one work with the actual on-air personality. And, you know, because we don't, you know, have 10 interns at a time too. And, you know, the shows will, like, you know, Jared and Katie love their interns. They use their interns all the time for on-air stuff. So you will get to showcase your talent if you really want to do it. And I'm with you. I think it's smarter to do it if you can find a smaller radio company to do it and they will let you be an intern. By all means, try it.
What year did you get into radio?
2008 was, well, I'd say 2006-ish is when I started really kind of helping out with Murphy. 2008 was when I was officially hired.
So right around then was when podcasts began to take off. Was there a point, like, was there a specific year that you noticed that podcasts were really becoming a thing?
probably right around then is when I started being told that, you know, we had to figure out this podcasting thing, which I still hear, by the way. So you've done really well with it. You have done, to me, which is very impressive with your podcast.
Thank you.
I don't think it's radio, you know, because we call it a podcast still, but it's like it's just kind of clips of the show. But it's funny because there are people who listen to us who just consider it a podcast because they hear it in clips, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And it's funny to see that because to me, it's just clips of the radio show.
Well, it's been driving me nuts. Like, everybody's like doing videos of them sitting around on a couch. Everyone's been doing videos and then like saying, oh, it's a podcast, but it's like, is it on Spotify or Apple? Because if it's just you sitting on a couch with a microphone in your face, that's you sitting on a couch with a microphone in your face. It's not a podcast. A podcast needs to be on all the platforms. Like, I got invited on some dude's show in Dubai, and I don't really film myself. I just do audio. And he was like, oh, I can only have you on if you do video. I'm like, that's not a podcast, bro.
Yeah, I agree with you. I've always thought, again, that the word podcast wraps up so much stuff now. And you're right. I've been on a podcast where I was filmed, but I didn't think of it as a podcast. I was like, are we doing a video or a podcast? Because I'm with you. And maybe it's just the way of thinking that when I hear podcast, I think of it being on a podcasting platform, not just a YouTube video.
Well,
but they're like, no.
Yeah.
And like my mother has discovered YouTube in her 60s. Never dealt with this before. She stumbled upon it on her Roku TV one day. Well, now she tells me all the time, she's like, oh, I'm watching this podcast. And I'm like, well, you're watching a YouTube video. But I'm not going to argue with her. I'm just like, oh, okay. But you're right. It's like podcasting has suddenly encompassed video with it as well.
Well, it's funny, too, because like people will be like, oh, I listened to Joe Rogan. But they're really talking about seeing like a 30-second clip on TikTok.
Yep.
Like, I don't know how many people, I think like pizza, like when I worked at a pizza shop 10 years ago, the guy had Rogan on. So I feel like pizza people, I feel like truck drivers, maybe landscapers, people that have jobs that need like comfort. I think they listen to Rogan, but I think most people consume Rogan or Kill Tony, all these popular shows, I think more in clips.
Yes. I totally agree with you on that. I wonder how many of their, like a Rogan, quote unquote, Rogan listener listens to his whole entire show each day.
Well,
and I would bet that you're listening to a lot of clips.
You know what I find hilarious is I love every podcast does this. And if I were the company, I would be so mad. Every podcast begins the show with 4.5 minutes of commercials, live reads. I'm like, if I'm that sponsor, I'm asking to be in 48 minutes because you just skip over it. Like I'll listen to Call Her Daddy occasionally because she cracks me up when she's not doing interviews. And like, I'll listen to it and like, oh, this is brought to you by Squarespace. This is brought to you by this coffee. And I'm skipping over it. So I'm like, even if you're on it, I'm not listening to it. It's stupid.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, see that part, I don't understand all that. I'm kind of with you on that. Of course, in the radio world, you're used to just, you know, your commercial breaks, your live reads, your things like that. But I do understand your point there. Yeah, you would, and I think some of our podcasts do that where you want to obviously put the commercial there in the middle because you want to hear it so they keep listening to you.
Well, yeah.
So,
and what's funny is like, I want to ask you. So I feel like you guys, it feels like a fever dream, but I feel like you guys used to be dirtier. Like, was there a time where you guys kind of realized maybe with cancel culture or Me Too that you had to clean things up a little bit?
No, you know, a lot of people have asked that. We have been lucky in that I think our audience has always stuck with us for a long time. I think they know us. We've never run into anything cancel culture. And, you know, to be honest, we've said a lot of things along the way that maybe, you know, you probably wouldn't normally say, or you probably shouldn't have said. I think that our audience knows what to expect from us. I don't think we've changed a lot. I think you just grow sometimes. I think things run their course. The problem is that your audience loves certain things, and everybody wants a conspiracy theory on why you changed them.
Oh, for sure.
You know, everybody wants a real, anytime something changes, I always get emails, messages, well, tell me the real reason. Well, sometimes the real reason is it just ran its course. Things change. You get tired of doing something. You want to change it up a little. The show has changed. The show has changed through the years. And sometimes it's just about the changes. It's not anything, it's nothing worried about being canceled. We've been syndicated for a little while now. And people always say, oh, well, things changed when you guys got syndicated. No, they didn't. We didn't change a thing. It's just things just naturally change through time. Life changes through time. There's never a conscious effort to not say something or, obviously you don't want to do anything too far over the line. But frankly, some of the things we still say, I'm shocked we get away with. But I think it's because our audience knows us. And compared to other shows, sometimes we are a little edgy.
Well, I give you guys props for like showing up every day and doing 4 hours of live content, because a lot of people don't realize that most shows are like at sometimes pre-recorded.
Oh yeah, man. It is quite something to do. When I hear other shows, I'm almost a little jealous sometimes when I hear shows that play music because we never have. I mean, I've never been, we've at least on Two Guys, it's always just been us talking, and that is rare now, especially when you're not on a talk station. We're still on mostly classic rock alternative stations, and to talk on those without music now, that's a very hard sell, and we do it. And believe me, there are days, man, it feels like a grind. I love my job, but sometimes at the end of those 4 hours, you are like mentally done.
Do you nap at all? I just drink a lot of caffeine whenever I do morning radio. I'm not really a nap guy.
Oh, I am. I'm a nap guy. I woke up just a few minutes right before this. I got done with the show today and said I can slide in a little nap before I talk to Hoppe. I've always been a nap guy. And then only thing I still can't do after this long is I can't go to bed too early.
Really?
Yeah, like Dem and Kelly, they go to bed at like 7:30, 8 o'clock. I can't do that.
It depends on what time of the year for me it is. Like, if it's like October where it's dark out, I can't. But if it's May or June, I'm not going to bed till 9:30.
Yeah, I try to take some melatonin around 8:45 or 9, and try to fall asleep around 9:30, 9:45. But see, I'm a big sports guy, so that's the other thing. Sports always end up catching my attention later on in the evening. So, I can't go to bed. Something about it, I'd never been able to go to bed that early. Part of it was I was always a late night person, and the job I had before this, I was up till 1 or 2 in the morning. So it's like my mind set that way when I was young and has just stayed that way. So the nice thing is I do get the afternoons off to come home, take a little nap. I don't take a nap every single day, but believe me, if I can slide one in, I'm going to.
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I was the guy that stayed up till 1 or 2 a.m. during the summer or on Friday and Saturday night. So it's always hard to wake up. But to me, once I have my caffeine in me and some other things, I'm good to go. Like it's just the process of getting out of bed is torture. But once you're in like the shower or whatever.
Yeah. Believe me, I'm that guy who sits on the end of the bed every single morning and thinks, what am I doing? And I mean, I've been that way for 20 years. So I get that feeling. But you're right. Once you're up and going, you're all right.
Was there anything that changed with the show when you guys won national?
I'll be honest, not really. It wasn't really about going national because we didn't go national at first. It wasn't a big launch, if that makes sense. We'd pick up one here. So we really didn't change that much. There was no meetings or no conscious effort to change anything because we were pretty much saying, this is our show. This is what we do. And that's why you're here. We've never really run into any big issues where, people are saying, well, I'm going to drop you for this or this. We've never had that. Everybody's always kind of understood who we are and what we are.
Have you guys ever been in any sort of trouble? Like, I know you guys don't get vulgar, but have you ever been like close to an FCC fine?
I'm sure the bosses and the lawyers probably handle that. I mean, we've had complaints and things. That's for sure. We've never been pulled aside. Now, I mean, we've gotten emails where the bosses have come and said, all right, give me that clip that played. I want to hear it before I respond to this email. And a lot of times, what you realize is people mishear something. You know, they're passive listening. They think you said something. They complain. The bosses listen and they go, okay, let me give them a call and explain to them what really was said there. But no, we've never had anything. I mean, we're not a real controversial show where you're going to find us, you know, fighting the FCC over this, where we said something absolutely horrendous or crazy. We're also just not those people. We're not the show that's going to go out and say something crazy just to say something crazy, if that makes sense.
Oh, for sure. Like, I think you guys are more of a comedy show than, like, let's say Shock Jocks, you know?
Bingo. Yeah, we're, you know, Kelly and Den kind of designed this show to not be Seinfeld-esque, but in a way that it's the people you're just sitting around hanging out and talking with.
Well,
and yeah, they joke sometimes that cross the line and you get laughs, but we're not out there. We've never been ones to seek the attention ourselves. If, you know, we've won awards and things. We hate award shows and things like that. You know, that's just not who we are as people. Like, you know, when we started winning, we've won a few awards. We mostly just make fun of the fact of those, how awkward we are at those things, because we don't think of ourselves that way. We don't think of ourselves in any, you know, other way than just a couple of guys hanging out, sitting around.
well, going back to the Seinfeld comparison, Kelly said the first few years, probably before you joined, that he didn't really get along with them. And he said what helped build a bond with them was that they both liked Seinfeld.
Yeah, no, when they first met, they were all, you know, which is very typical young radio, too. When you first meet someone, you're like, what's this guy about? You know?
Yeah.
So, just trying to take my job. And, but then it's like, once those two got together, and see, we're all very different, too, which, I always think, you know, the three of us are very different people. I mean, you know, they're both married. Kelly has kids. Dem doesn't. I'm not married. I'm single. You know, and we're all just very different people, too. And I think that gives a lot of people different looks at different parts of life, too.
Now, were you ever interested before the pizza job in going into radio, or did you just kind of stumble in it?
Nope. I was always a sports kid. And I dabbled in stand-up for a little while, just when I first Murphy. And I did stand-up because I thought, you know, people used to tell me all the time, they'd be like, oh, you're funny, you should do this. I never thought anything about it. I just was truly working as a Papa John's manager, just fine with life. And then I just kind of stumbled into it. I always liked radio. I loved music. I was a big music kid, giant sports fan. You know, I loved you know, just listening to the radio, but I listened to the radio for music. I think when I was like 10, I called a radio show because they split from like rock to country, and I got owned by the DJ because I called and I said something like, why did you change to country? And he was like, because we knew you were listening. And I was like, yeah, the typical, and I just went, okay, thanks. So that's kind of my first earliest radio memory. And, but no, I mean, once I got into it, then I was like, oh, I like this. And now here I sit. So I guess, I keep joking at this point. I guess I should say it's my job or my career. It still feels, you know, you still have that imposter syndrome.
Now, before I let you go, where do you think the show, like, what's the show going to look like in like 3 to 5 years?
That's a great question, man, because I'll tell you, we're getting to that point, or some changes, you know. I mean, you talk about retirements and things that you didn't think about before. The show will always continue on, I think, in some form or fashion. You know, I think it's going to be one of those where it'll always be the two guys named Chris show. I don't think right now any of us have any plans to go anywhere. I don't know what radio is going to look like in 3 to 5 years. That is another big question, period. You know, all you can do is keep riding the wave and keep grinding it out. Hoping, I guess we're in a little bit of hoping for the best and just working hard.
Now, before I let you go, would I be able to get you to record a liner?
Yeah, brother, absolutely.
It would be, hey, it's Biggie from the Two Guys Named Chris show, and you're listening to Happy Hour with Ryan Hoppe.
Yep, no problem at all.
All right, I'm ready.
All right. What's going on? It's Biggie from the Two Guys Named Chris show, and you're listening to Happy Hour with Ryan Hoppe.
I appreciate that, bro. Are you going to the morning show boot camp this year?
No, I wish I could. You know, they sent us like 5 years ago, and I really enjoyed it. And then they kind of cut us back and stuff. I would love to. I always I thought it was a great time, man. I hope you have a. Where is it at this year?
It's in Austin. I haven't gone in 4 years, so I'm going to go. I met Dem and Kelly in 20. I met Dem and Kelly in 2014. It was cool.
Yeah. I went to when it was in Chicago before. I know you're from the Chicago area. I've got family up there, and we lived in Palatine.
Oh, I lived in Arlington. I lived in Arlington Heights. Crazy.
Yeah. So that's why I'm a Cubs fan, because the Cubs were the very first baseball game I ever went to when I was a kid. So yeah, I know Chicago pretty well. And so I went when it was up there a few years ago, and I had a great time. I really, really enjoyed it. I'm interested to see, though, with all the layoffs that have happened, kind of what it's like this year. Because they actually, around here, they just cut, you mentioned they cut 2 people around here that have been here like close to 20 years. Odyssey just did on their big layoff.
Yeah,
So,
wasn't it Jams, right?
well, it wasn't Jams, I think, was safe. This poor woman named Charlie McCain, who had been here like 20 years, she was let go, and another guy on their country station who had been here for 10 years was let go. But I hate it for them. They're all super nice people. And but I mean, I knew Odyssey. They kept saying, you know, they were making cuts. So but yeah, man, I'm really impressed with your career, Ryan.
Thank you.
You've really done well for yourself, man. So
No, I appreciate
you
that.
know, I've really, yeah. So just stick with it. So are you still working? What are you working down there?
I'm
besides
working
doing your
at
podcast?
Beasley Media Group, but honestly, I'm
cool, good.
I'm not transitioning out of radio, but I'm not waiting for the program directors to give you a shot. Like, I'm kind of going all in on the podcast, and I have like 2 business meetings today, and I'm going to keep radio around, but I'm going to focus on the podcast more.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Well, that's good, man. Yeah, I'm seriously, Ryan. You've really impressed me, man. You've always grinded coming up. So that's very, very, very impressive. And yeah, see, my family lived. My sister graduated from College of Charleston back in 2016.
Yeah,
and they moved down to Trinity. And then I have twin nieces. They were born down there in 2018, and my mom moved down there. So I spent a lot of time the past couple years in Trinity, Newport Richey, that area and stuff. And of course, I know Tampa, the St. Pete. I never spent much time in St. Pete. I always liked. The only time I went to St. Pete was to go to a shitty Rays game for $5.
Oh yeah,
So,
and then they got rid of the roof.
yeah. You know, the Rays game is the only game I've ever attended with a homeless person. I literally walked in with a dude who was homeless because it was hot that day.
Yeah.
And the ticket was like $5, and he sat in the air conditioning and drank filled beers next to me for 3 hours.
What's funny is the media doesn't call out the Rays because they're afraid to lose their press pass, but the Rays suck.
Oh, yeah, and I just saw because I still follow the Tampa News. I saw where now the owner's like, yeah, I'm not even going to build a new stadium. Like, okay, whatever. So.
And
That's hilarious.
Before I let you go, how can people listen to the show?
I would say, well, you know, once you post it, I can link it to my account, or I'll try to promo it.
All right.
Wait, what are you saying? Listening to my?
Yeah.
Sorry.
How can people check out the Two Guys Named Chris show?
Oh, that you can just go to our website. I think it's twoguysnamedchris.com or podcast, and you can listen to us. I know we're on Spotify and all that too.
Well, dude, this has been very fun. I don't know why I didn't ask you sooner. There were people I've interviewed recently that I kind of pushed off because I don't know why I thought you wouldn't do it. So it feels good that we finally had the interview.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And you can reach out to me anytime, brother. I'm always just a message away.
If I'm ever in the Triad area, I'll hit you up because I got my mom's side of the family, but it's just the ones that I'm close to aren't with us anymore. But if I ever find a reason that I'm there, I'll hit you up.
Yeah, man. And seriously, hopefully, and enjoy Austin. I'd like to just go to Austin, the city. I think you're going to have a blast.
I know. There's this guy named Ryan Halliday who's like a Stoic author, and he owns a bookstore there. And I'm going to try to go there to get a picture with him.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, man. Have fun, dude. That's going to be great. I'm mad now because I'd love to go to Austin. So, well, dude, I enjoyed this, man. I really appreciate it. And let me know if you ever need anything, brother.
All right. Thank you, Biggie.
Thanks, man.
All right, bye.
Bye.
And that was Biggie from the Two Guys Named Chris show as he called in the Happy Hour. Now, if you haven't heard this show before, I do two versions. One that's like a hyper edgy morning radio show and a podcast where I play throwback hip hop, and one where I interview radio hosts. Go to every single major platform that has a podcast and search up Hoppe Radio, Hoppe Radio. This has been Happy Hour. I am your host, Ryan Hoppe, signing off. Goodbye.
Tick-tock, clocks are juking, playing cruel pranks. Hoppe's hour almost done, feels like robbery in banks. Ryan Hoppe on the mic, dropping wisdom in streams. Syndicated sorrow, now it's time to shatter dreams. Oh, the Happy Hour is coming to a close. Radio waves fading like a wilted rose. Laughter and joy dissolving in the air, but we'll keep the rhythm. Oh, life's just so unfair. But the laughter's growing dim. Eardrums mixing Hoppe like fingers without rings. DHX to FM, shout out hit the street. But soon the sound will vanish like shadows in the heat. Oh, the Happy Hour is coming to a close. Radio waves fading like a wilting rose. Laughter and joy dissolving in the air, but we'll keep the rhythm. Oh, life's just so unfair. But the laughter's growing dim. Eardrums mixing Hoppe like fingers without rings. DHX to FM, shout-outs hit the street. But soon the sound will vanish like shadows in the heat. Oh, the Happy Hour is coming to a close. Radio waves fading like a wilting rose. Laughter and joy dissolving in the air, but we'll keep the rhythm. Oh, life's just so unfair. Oh, life's just so unfair. Like clockwork to a show. Now it's time to face the silence like a TV on snow. Ryan Hoppe held the mic with humor so divine. The void left in our hearts wider than a canyon line. Empty speakers silent, time but coming to an end. Like a roller coaster stopping round the river's bend. Hoppe's jokes and jabs, these our daily grind. Now silence louder than the thoughts we can't rewind. Oh, the Happy Hour is coming to a close. Radio waves fading like a wilting rose. Laughter and joy dissolving in the air, but we'll keep the rhythm. Oh, life's just so unfair. The Happy Hour is coming to a close. Radio waves fading like a wilting rose. Laughter and joy dissolving in the air, but we'll keep the rhythm. Oh, life's just so unfair.
Happy Hour. Happy Hour.
RyanHoppeRadio.com.
And like that, he's gone.
Whenever we're going outside, all I smell is poop.
I'll kick you in the nuts and we'll call it a day.
Happy Hour is now over. Happy Hour is now over. Game over.
This concludes our broadcast day. Good night, and God bless America.
Doors closing.